is we're going to go through and actually create a table and graph this information. So we're not going to graph all of it. We're going to pick a couple and we're going to go through and compare the speeds of a couple different animals. So here it says work with a partner. So we'll do this one together. And it says a cheetah and a Thompson gazelle are running at a constant speed. Find the missing distances. So when I go through to do this, my cheetah, if I look back at my chart, which I believe I had the cheetah done. So I'm going to have to do the Thompson gazelle. And that one's sitting clear down here. So I'm going to go through really quick and do my Thompson gazelle also. So when I do that, I have to shift back to my other conversion. So I'm going to slide this down. So my other conversion for the Thompson gazelle, because that one they gave me in 50 miles per hour. So this was a 50. On my calculator, let's go 50 times 5,280. And then divide by that 3,600. Gives me 73.3. So I'm going to jot that down. Okay, so I have 73.3 for that one. And then my cheetah was the 102.6. So those are the two that I need for my chart. I'm going to jot those down quick. So 73.3. Okay, so now when I go through to do this, we're trying to find the distance that each of those can travel in the amount of time given. So at 0 seconds, each of them is going to travel 0 distance. Okay, at 1 second, since they're traveling this speed per second, the cheetah travels 102.6 feet away, while the gazelle is 73.3 feet away. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the next second. How far would they be away from their starting point? So to do that, I'm just going to work the cheetah all the way through. 102.6, and I'm just going to take it times 2, which gives me 205.2. Okay. Now from here, I can either continue to add 102.6 every time, or I can clear my calculator and take 102.6 times 3. I'm just going to choose to add the 102.6 each time because it's fewer button pushes. So we get 307.8. So at 3 seconds away, it's now 300, a little over 300 feet away. And then add 102.6 is 410.4. Okay, another second away, 102.6, 513 feet. And then add again, 102.6 is 615.6. And then add one more time, 102.6. And that gives us 718.2. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to pause your video and work your way through doing the gazelle. So if you work your way through in the same manner, you can either multiply or you can add 73.3 each time. So go ahead and pause your video and work your way through each of those. Okay, in the end, these are the numbers that you should have ended up with for each of your distances from the starting point. So our next step is we're going to go through and actually graph these. So we're going to graph the gazelle and the cheetah. So I'll do a brief explanation of how you actually go through and graph these. And then I'll actually show you the actual graph. So I'm going to jump back a slide. So when I go through and I look back at this one, I would go through and start at my gazelle. Well, the time was 0 seconds. And the gazelle could go 0 feet in 0 seconds. So it starts right here. Okay, so my next one, take note that on the graph, the boxes going up are each worth 50 because they're marked every 2 and they're marked at hundreds. And then the boxes going across are each worth half, but so every 2 boxes is worth 1. So at 1 second, our gazelle could go 73.3 feet. So 1 second, this first line would be 50, so 73.3 is probably about in the middle of that. And I know that that's not perfect, but this is going to kind of be a guesstimate, okay? All right, so then at 2 seconds, it would travel 146.6, so that's a little under 150. So my 150 would be that first line above the 100, so we'll just go a little bit below that. And my whiteboard is it's kind of hard to get it on exactly. Okay, so at 3 seconds, 73.3 times 3 gives me 219. I'm going to get these really quick. So plus 73.3, 293, just so I don't have to jump back and so forth. So we'll go ahead and just at least graph those ones out. So on my next one at 3 seconds, it was 219.9. So that's around 220. So a little above the 200, maybe a partial box up. So at 3 seconds, partial box up above 200. And then at 4 seconds, it was 293. That's a little under 300. So at 4 seconds, we're going to go a little under 300. And then we'll add 73.3. Gives me 366.5. And 439.8. And 513.1. So we'll finish graphing the rest of those out. So now at 5 seconds, it was 366.5. So that's a little above 350. So 5 seconds, my 300 mark, the next line up is 350. And we're a little above that at 366. And then at 6 seconds, it could go 439. So that's a little under 450. So 6 seconds, 400, a little under 450. And then lastly, at 7 seconds, it was at 513 feet away. So 7 seconds, that's a little above 500, somewhere in there. My final step is to take a straight edge and actually connect these dots. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be, your dots are going to be close aligned. We had to kind of estimate where those would be. Okay, so what you're going to do is now, once you've copied that down, you're going to go ahead and do the cheetah portion of it. That one's a little bit easier to graph because you're closer to those 100 marks instead of the 50 marks where I had to jump boxes. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and finish working your way through and graphing the cheetah, which of course the cheetah is still going to start at 0, 0. So you're going to have that as your starting point. When you're finished, you can check back and look at the graph that I have. Okay, so you should have ended up with a graph similar to this. Obviously, it may not look perfectly like that, but something similar to that. So the question on letter C, after we've completed the line graph, says which graph is steeper? Well, if you were to walk up a hill, which one would be harder to walk up? That would be our cheetah graph. And the speed of which animal is greater? So which one got a further distance away in the same amount of time? That also, oops, I forgot my H, was also the cheetah. Had a faster speed. Okay, so what you're going to do for homework is you're going to flip to your next page, which is page 61. And you're going to go ahead, I think it's 61. Yeah, you're going to go ahead and pick 2 other animals off of your chart. You can choose whatever animals you want. Instead of doing the 10 that it says over on that page, you're going to pick 2 of them. So you'll pick 2 animals. You're going to create a table like this for 7 seconds of time. And then you're going to also graph out. And there is a graph given for you with distances already there in feet per second. But if you decide to use miles per hour, you're going to have to modify that graph. And you may have to modify it depending on what animals you chose. So when you're finished with that, then you can check back with me and I'll check your graph. So good luck with this. And just remember, as you're doing these, you're working either miles per hour or feet per second, whichever one you choose.